Oh, okay. All righty. So we're doing finance now, so.
And I have two of the members.
No.
And that's fine. I have two of the members of financial management. The biggest increase in my non-salary is right here. We've had $15,000.
What page are we on? 44. I know you're.
A11. Well, I'll start with 44 first. I've got 44 right here. I got 11. Gotcha. I'm good. But one of the big requests is to go ahead and finish up the 2012 Financial Management Act. You know, we've been trying to drudge through that thing for years. The problem we've got is we've got Chronos. Chronos, each department, there's multiple personnel policies and everybody's treating them different. So it's like department after department. My office is currently implementing 5 live areas, almost done with those. We did magistrates since the last meeting, so we're picking up departments. The problem is we've got several departments left with standalone personnel policies: highway, PCC, circuit court clerk, county clerk. So talking to financial management, number one recommendation is we've had $15,000 where we pay for some consulting and work with it each year in training. It's been in there for several years. I've been using small amounts of it. One of the things we're going to do, my recommendation is do an RFQ, bring in a consulting firm along with us, and that's just a WAG because we haven't actually finished the RFQ or anything, and actually hire them and give different points that we want to have and different goals for them, and try to help them finish with their staff, because when you really implement something, you have your staff with their normal job and implementation. That's why it's taking so long. So we're basically putting other things on the back burner, and we're doing the implementation. You know, we've implemented this past year, we did the new Chronos payroll software, so when we got done with it, you know, everything was fine and dandy till you get to the end of the year, and what was the W-2s? So I'm spending a week along with the payroll department and Beth over here trying to straighten up W-2s. So we all drop back off of Chronos, the budget, and everything else. So my best recommendation is right now we put a request for qualifications, bid it, and bring in a consulting firm to knock this thing out.
And I'd like to just step in for financial management and talk about why back in the day we put this in financial management. It's for internal controls, and it's also, I mean, that's the biggest thing in my mind is we need the controls. If we don't, we need finance to start doing more like spot checks and stuff to make sure that we're in compliance everywhere.
So,
But
go ahead.
also we have different departments out there spending a lot of time going back and forth with their manual sheets. There's a lot of time being spent, so we can achieve more with less resources once we get Chronos in.
Also buying other timekeeping applications, like
it's really
circuit court.
So,
yes.
So I want to ask, we're probably going to break my own rule here, so I'm going to say it, and then I think we're going to need to like take it to another spot. But the problem I've wrestled with here is like, what authority do we have? Like, what lever do we have to force
the law?
The law.
I get that it's the law. That's wonderful, but nobody cares about the law if you can't enforce it. What enforcement mechanism do you have?
I can tell you what the state told me, and you've got legal over here. When we were all pondering with the 81 Act, and they were going to give a finding to Mayor Holt, and he complained, the finding went back to the county commission. Their opinion was the county commissioners and legislators know the law. If the people don't follow the law, it is your duty to bring them to court and get an order.
And why would we not want to follow it?
That was their opinion at the time. We were told that
I'm not disagreeing. I'm
from
like,
the comptroller's office on the floor.
I know, but it's like, no, I get it. I mean, the military.
We were told that point blank.
Says like, what gun do I have, right? Like, what capability do I have?
We were told point blank from the comptroller's office that it was the duty of the commission to enforce the law through the court system.
So we can enforce it, and if they're out of compliance, the courts will.
That was their right. That's kind of your.
Suit.
Okay.
Well, it depends on, also, we're looking at, if we're supposed to be on Chronos, if they're not submitting payroll records, we're not paying.
Yeah, we
I
got
mean,
the power
if they're not supporting, if they're not sending in the payroll records,
Could we, sounds to me like the answer is consider, and this is where we need to take this would go legislative, right? We're going past the scope here, but you gave me the answer. The answer is...
That's what I was told by the comptroller's office. That was at that time. That's been several years back.
Got it. All right.
But where it came to a head was, is they were gonna give Mayor Hold in my office a finding for not implementing timely the system, actually the 81 with the schools. So he complained and said he had no control. Ultimately, the comptroller's decision, if you look at the findings up there, they said, they gave a finding to the county commission. And there's a finding up in the report. Their comment was that it is the duty of the county commission to enforce it.
They did, they just
And-
changed the resolution.
So is this, would you agree then that given that we have a duty to do that, are we at risk if we don't?
I think it sets a bad precedent. You know, you want to make sure that you're enforcing all our private acts, you know, and that they're applied equally. So it would be something like injunctive relief or declaratory relief or something along those lines, is what
If
the.
the commission's expecting to follow the law and everybody like to sue us, then we're gonna make everybody else follow.
And without what.
Let's talk about the other end of, like, say for instance, we talk about purchase orders a lot. If you read the private act, it says purchases outside the private act aren't county liabilities. What that really puts me into a position is, technically, I'm paying bills, and I bring it to the committee and discuss, and I'm paying bills that aren't county liabilities. Technically, I could refuse them and it could go back to court.
So
It kind of puts you in a bad spot.
I get it, and I get it, and it's well explained, and we do need to address it, but I feel like this is something that will be addressed in the course of those legislative sessions and budget sessions moving forward.
Well, I don't see, if it's going to legislation, it's only if we want to revoke the private act.
Well, no,
We
we
already
would
have
have to
the
what we would have to do is have a resolution or some kind of directive to the law department, or legal, department to seek relief through the courts. That's what we would.
That's what he's referring to.
So if they don't,
Yeah, if they
implement,
continue
you're
not to certain, choose not to do so after a certain time, then we would, hypothetically, I'm not making a decision here, but we would put out some type of guidance that by this time thou shalt have your folks on Chronos in order to be compliant.
That's what we tried to do before. Now, we were supposed to have a meeting on the 15th of April where we had all the heads in there, and they were going to, and for some reason,
I asked to move forward because we're trying to get the budget
Yeah,
ready.
so-
And the difficulty, and they're trying to get their budget ready
The
too.
right thing, the thing we would need
and
to
then
do
we were
is
going
do
to pass that
that.
resolution in order to say, this is the drop dead.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't happen, then we would seek relief.
Then we would go to
Which is
legislation,
why I think
pass
it's
it through that.
and then the one thing is I wanted to talk to you about the payback period and how that fits in with this.
Okay.
I think that we should do the payback period once they go implement onto.
No, I understand.
If we had to hold it
that part.
together.
That's a little bit
And,
of a carrot.
and I think that we should, this has been dragging around forever. You can even Google and you'll get articles where the newspaper was asking Mr. Holt back in the day, what should we do, what should we do? Here we are. We need a drop dead date. I say if we can't get this done by next year's budget, there's no more
Well,
payback
let's-
for the stuff. We
And
just
then
go.
that's another option we have, right? I mean, that's another lever we have, but let's do this. Is there any action on this from a budgetary point of view right now that we need to do?
No, I'm just putting in a request to do an RFQ, to basically put it in the budget, because you'd have to pay for it, do an RFQ to get a consultant to help us finish and list and get it out of here. And help us work with the departments to get all their stuff together and make it easier on the departments to implement it too. Because you gotta think, my department takes a lot of work to do it, but it also affects the other departments, because their number one primary concern is not payroll, a lot of
Their
them.
operation.
As long as they do their operations. So if we can get a consulting team in that can help as much as possible, it'll help relieve a lot of that with training, the amount of time their people have to take to get it together. That's my thought process. The 85 may not even be close, but that's a starting point to look, and I'm talking about using the whole 100 including the 15 we've got for others. The 100 may not even be close either side, but it's, at least you guys know that that's the thought, and it's to help to get it done and to help the departments, because it's gonna cause them some work too.
Gotcha.
What determines whether the 85 or the 100 will get the job done?
We're gonna put a request for qualifications out, and make them give good goals and benchmarks and times and estimated costs, and what requires to be an overrun, and they have to get approval on the fact, and we come back to budget. Because I don't want one where we come back and I end up with a bill of $105,000 and try to find extra $5.
I mean, have you ever talked to any of these consultants and said?
Oh, I've been a lot of stuff. We've actually got one right now. They help us intermittently, but since it's a large project, I'm always, you could say professional service and just choose this group, and I can move forward. But my point of view is always do a request for qualifications, get the qualifications, grade them, and get the best one out there. And this one that we're using may be, or there may be a better one that gives us a proposal. Anytime you spend a lot of money, even if it's not required, it's my recommendation to do a sealed request for qualification. And it won't be 100% on cost, it'll be 100% on performance, because sometimes low performance is.
I guess we're a little looser in the private industry.
And from.
Well, I'm a little tired. It's not my money, so I gotta do it that way.
I'd just like to say, without like saying anything like where it happened and stuff, we've paid dead employees before. I mean, we need more control around payroll. We need it. We're not gonna talk about who, where, when, but we need this all in one spot, and we need more control around it.
Yes, we do.
And
That's our
just
job.
growing.
Okay, so
And we've had to recover from the court system before people were even paid back.
I know.
So we need to get the holdback period, my point on that one.
Yes.
so on you, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of bringing this back here, on yours,
On the salary, let's talk to the salary.
your total, scrolling up from the bottom up, you're asking for a little more than 40 million extra year over year.
Well, part of it's the 80, and remember there's an employee added during the year, and then I'll go up and I'll go look at the salaries, that's where the rest of your, let's see what all we have going up. Some was equipment, other items too, but that's fine. Go back to the bottom, let's go up. This one right here, if you look, we're using, and this is one of the things you guys run into, we're using Microsoft Excel as a second. A lot of formulas, a lot of interlinked stuff. We're using our computers and our laptops, we're having, because of the size and complexity, we're having computer issues.
Yeah,
We're asking for more computers next year. That's where that's coming from. Furniture and fixtures, because we've got an office up there that's empty where we need to move the purchase for purchasing, and we need actually furniture for it. That's where that's coming from, that our office over there, from the district now. Where's the other increases there? Office supplies, you can kind of look, we're already spending more than we've got in there. We brought it up, but I brought some of the items up and down through there. And then the rest of it involves, what was that? Data processing we actually could decrease. But, let's go up to salaries, and I'll talk to what I've got into there. I've got the salaries, and the reasoning I came out with the salaries, I should have notes. The first one here is other than the 5%, and mine's based on the highest cost of living limited to 9.5, which is exactly what that right there is. That's limited per contract. Okay. You want to stop the shit? We can stop it.
No, go ahead. We went through this in detail yesterday.
Okay. That one right there is the first one. We've got, if I go to this market, that is actually below the 2023 amount, and I have several comparative employees that has been brought in for this employee, making more since that time. This one right here, if you click on that right there, this one right here is an employee based on the actual average of two other counties that are like us at the 5% cost of living. That's where that came from. And if you go to the actual market sheet here, that's actually below the market sheet. And then also, another thing that I looked at was this employee is actually on the same level as the county engineer, which is at 141. That's why I'm asking for that. It's well below market. This was the financial analyst I hired, got a bachelor's degree. The market rate's about 70, and they asked me, is there anything I can do, because I've just got another job, I can tell. Very good employee. This one down here is the purchasing clerk that I actually want to make what we're going to call the purchasing agent. A purchasing agent for mid-sized counties goes for 113. We're going to make them a purchasing agent, but they still answer to me, so the pay wouldn't be commensurate by any means. And then this one here is the one that's actually the payroll manager, does the Kronos, Munis, and all the rest of them. We've had, that one's just kind of hanging on to see if we can do something. They've got a bachelor's degree also, required for their job, has training for computers, so they're doing the Kronos. This was actually doing the Munis security also up here. But this one, the other day, we got the stuff in GFO and everywhere, and it's like in the 90s, and also we start comparing on the job salary survey, they're below the average. The rest of them, I did not ask for 6% or anything additional, because I kind of compared them to the average, and they weren't horribly far off. And these are the ones I considered to be the most likely for turnover also. That's where I came up with the amounts from. But that one on our last salary survey was on the same level on the salary survey as the county engineer that came in about 2 years ago, and this one's been here 17 years, 18, in our county. That's where most of mine came from, was in salaries.
Any questions, Mr. Lyon?
With the, computers you're buying, how many are you buying?
On the computers, we're hoping to replace, we replace so many every year, but I'm hoping to replace 1 to 2 additional laptops, and it may just be 1.
But I'm wondering back to when we were talking earlier, how there's been so many departments, who has to replace all their computers because they need to be Windows 11?
It was the,
Property assessor, but not before 2026.
No, it was, no, not the law, I know the law officer.
Property assessor.
Property assessor.
The assessor's office.
And the law
It's not this year, by 2026.
2020. All right, I'm sorry.
David, are you gonna stay with Excel, or do you have to get a,
This is what I have, and that's something we need to look at, their long-term planning, you know. The end of this year is my contract, and the end of next year is the end of my optional contract, which I'm probably gonna stay at the end of it. But in the long-term planning, I did put something in there to do something about the budget software. My feeling about the budget software, Munis is not gonna do what we got in Excel by any means. Your next person is definitely not gonna want 2 Excel sheets from me with thousands upon thousands
It's
of
stuff that
thousands.
you know, and only you know, like it's.
And there's thousands of formulas too in there, and I mean, they're gonna have to spend, I have in there as an estimate, you're probably gonna spend at least about $500,000 to get that all.
I mean, honestly, it's something for the size of this organization, and it's kind of like saying, similar thing I was saying, library books, I appreciate trying to be lean on this, but like at some point, we're gonna have to pull a trigger on a true accounting software system.
And we have Munis's budgeting, but it will not produce anything like these documents or payrolls or stuff you guys want to budget on. You're going to, and I had the former IT director, and they started looking at it, but we started showing them kind of what we had and the cost went. So we got back and punted. So right now, if you look at like your payroll stuff, how I know those are accurate, your employee numbers are in there, and I actually import tables from our payroll system. So we know things are accurate, I have a lot of check numbers, but there's a lot of VLOOKUPs, imports,
Yeah, you're moving
tables.
stuff, because when you're doing these roll-ups, you're moving stuff.
And
It's
it
a
got,
complex spreadsheet.
and it got complicated enough this year with all the new salary changes in the ARPA that I went and reworked most of the budget payroll and about gave Beth a stroke because we started importing Munis payments to make sure we captured the stuff.
So that brings me to another point, when we start talking about long-term planning, and that is your waste. At some point, we're gonna, I don't want to, unless the universe is really dislikes me, I don't plan on being budget chairman forever, but I would not want to be budget chair the first year you're gone without having somebody, who's had like, a few months of left seat right.
I'll tell you right now, I will give you 6 months before I leave, I'll let you know.
And that would.
Even on the option, I said 60 days, but I'm gonna tell you December, if I'm on the seat, you need to stay after that.
So, yeah, but I mean, when you think about that, I mean, it'll take a couple months to find a qualified replacement, so that's not a ton of, even in. We probably need to be, my point here is that we probably need to be on like a soft look now.
I agree.
And not to be bearer of further, there's several executive members that are planning to retire a few years right after I leave.
David has no bench.
At least 2 more are planning to,
So I'm just-
in the next 2 years after that.
We just need to plan for, it's just change management, and I mean, it's not gonna get bent out of shape over it, but we're gonna need to be talking about it.
But we did put in the long-term planning the thing to deal with 2 things. One, we do get like there's $500,000 in there for trying to unwind this from Excel into a set system where somebody would feel comfortable. Honestly, if I came, and I worked on these sheets I've developed over the years, if I came into this county with that Excel sheet, I was gonna spend 3 months making sure there wasn't issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is best spent when you're on board.
Probably best thing, getting it away from Excel.
That's what I'm saying, like, you can Excel while you're here, and
Right.
you can explain the logic.
So I have two questions. When you're talking about the budget system, are you talking about in addition to the unit, or are you talking about a whole nother accounting package?
Your ERP requires them to all
That's what I was wondering.
to be together, but they can migrate between each other, like just like you have Kronos and Munis. I've looked at the Munis, what came with Munis. When we originally bought Munis, they offered some, the consultant said there was additional packages we may want to add in.
Like we got the grant module.
The grant module sits in there, Munis. But Munis has a package where it will allow us to send these with something similar to request over to the departments. But the problem you've got when you go into Munis, it's not a tier 1 ERP like an SAP or an Oracle. So you're very limited on what you can do. The only way to get around that is to do another complete set of software that will import and export between Munis. That's what I'd recommend, is you're not going to get what you want by any means of imagination if you do it the other way. We can implement the Munis one right now over the next several months, but it's not going to get what you want. Where you're seeing the pretty colored budget and all the sheets where I can pull them up, that's all going to vanish. You're basically going to get, I look at a Munis scenario where you add a 1% cost or 2% cost or very limited scenario, you know. It's very limited. It's not by employee. We spent quite a bit of time looking at it. I don't know.
Can you call and ask them?
We can call and ask them, but they may not do the same level of detail you do either.
We gotta start somewhere. I mean,
So the best thing is it may be that you create a subcommittee exploratory, figure out what the county's doing, what you're willing to pay for, and what you really want. If you're willing to, because the counties are doing it with less detail, if you're okay with less detail.
well, we're gonna lose detail because detail tells me they don't see anything like what they provide us with. Nobody else gets these details.
That crazy you don't.
I mean, it's
not out there.
it's just not out there. It's not.
Beth can tell you what was here when I got here. How long did it take you got to do your budget when I got here? Was there any detailed payrolls in there? Well, how was the insurance handled? It was 1 month from the bottom. Your salaries had no details in those lines. The revenues had, what was it, they seen where things were going and kind of put on that historicals, or, we have like, what, 20 years going back now?
So, I mean, bottom line here, we're gonna have a few things that we're gonna need to consider. Getting outside, because we're talking now, I think, more toward long-term planning, but we're gonna need, you know, some amount for double up salary to run parallel for some amount of time. Potentially for 2 personnel, okay? At least we're gonna need one-time upfront transition. Now, some of that will be rolled into that personnel, that individual coming on, but we'll need one-time upfront for software purchase and implementation, and then there's the ongoing maintenance and licensing fees for that software. So, I mean, if we're going to need, it's a thing that we're probably going to start planning for now and begin to execute over the next 2 years.
The more you can link it into your ERP, the better.
Can we like have a deadline of like maybe by December having like 2 options or 3 options for the software?
Yeah, because we'll be done with the budget.
Yeah, can we ask for that right now? Just, you know, by December, let's see what our options are. Pick your favorites.
Well, what we'll do is start exploring what other counties are doing and let you determine what you want. Because the question is, we can probably find about anything and even have people write about how much you want to spend on it. Yep.
And then I think the other item is I don't think we should have a decision today, but how long do we want David's shadow for? I mean, we're saying some amount of time, but I want to start thinking about it. Is that 6 months? Is that 9 months?
Oh, a year.
I would go a year too, but I'm afraid y'all don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I don't know.
And I don't want to make a decision. I just want to say we need to like start thinking about it and talking about it.
The only thing I could say, a really big positive doing a longer-term shadowing is, shadowing will take some of your time, but not all of it. If they were shadowing, it would be more of availability, and I could take all that time to actually implement a new software package where they
It could be a part-time thing doing shadow for the.
The implementation of the budget package is going to be a whole job again on its own. Because you hire consultants and you think they do the work, you hand the work over to them to help you how to do it. Can it's like another job. We were surprised when we did the ERP for Munis. Like the general chart of accounts, that was the biggest confusion ever, and I don't know, they weren't helpful. I finally figured out how I wanted it. It's a very good charging account, it works great, but it was, they showed you how to do it, you do all the work, you do all the conversions, and pretty much all of it. And this is how you do it, and on a phone call, and, spent like 2 hours with us and charged us $1,000, and then we spent 2 weeks, and they gave us a deadline of 2 weeks, and we spent 2 weeks with an extra 40 hours overtime to get it done. They're not fun little things to deal with, but.
So anything, getting back to your initial track, this is a good discussion, we are ahead, so that's all right. So anything more for David on next year's budget?
Well, the only thing I would say is we can't make any of the decisions until we know what's out there. Because at some point we're gonna have to say, okay, we're gonna buy this software, we're gonna have to find somebody who's really good on Excel to continue what you're doing. Once we make that decision, then we determine how long it needs to be shadowed, because if it's an off-the-shelf software, it won't take as long for him to shadow. But if it's Excel, depending on that person's ability to do Excel.
I don't think Excel is not sustainable here for that much longer.
David has too many macros and everything
Yeah,
else in there.
it's called
It's
computer
too
crash.
custom.
Yeah.
It works great, and it gives us a fabulous product, and it's been on the cheap all these years.
Right.
But and there's also a lot of things that get built into it that you have to dig and dig and dig.
Yeah, and you break it.
And we did, remember, we broke it last year very briefly.
You've got to remember something else. We do it as a shared document, so there's I have up to 5 people working on this document.
Yeah.
If Excel itself messes up because we have a network lag, it gets confused and throws everybody out. We may lose 4 hours
We
worth of
can also
work.
do an update that can change formulas if you.
We've got to make sure everybody's on the same version, or it throws everybody into a loop. Make sure nobody's doing circular references. I had to go down and fix it.
No, it's not stable. It's just not.
And we'll be in the middle of something, and David will be off on a Hawaiian island, and we'll be in the water.
This is
We'll all be going.
go to the star and unhide some of those formulas. Do you want to look at MOE for schools, because you discussed it earlier?
Yeah.
Dr. Langford asked me if I'm going to be able to provide him what you guys are going to provide as far as revenue.
Let's look at the schools. Let's do that.
It's on that revenue sheet back we were looking at this morning.
Let's discuss it.
It's on local revenues there, that purple tab. And if you go to the right, click you see there, and then go down to when you see, keep going. Okay, keep going. Keep on, just going down till we get the total, we can kind of give them the total. If you give the schools the same percentage of property tax on the new certified rate, not the same pennies, because pennies are going to change, but the same percentage based on the amount of will tax they'll get and sales tax that they've got to get. That's how much more their budget will be than last year. But as you know, the last year's budget was MOE, so they were actually getting more anyway. But
10.7. But that is not increasing MOE to 10.7. That's
well, we increased it to that dollar. If you gave them that amount, then yeah, it increases them to that dollar.
well, right now, I mean, MOE is 126. Right?
Right. Copy that.
You're talking about the 10,000 above. That's not going against the MOE.
Copy this. No, not that. Copy on those down too. No, copy the formula. Sorry, I wasn't clear. Copy the formula right there. You go. Yeah, it would change it to, that's what it's actually be that 37.
Well, okay.
Just like if
So
you,
MOE does go up. I think
Well, there's a
that's
difference between, if
addressed.
you're talking about a percent, if you don't change the percentage,
If we don't change the ratios.
Right, exactly.
say it's a
So
school,
we leave the penny allocations the way they are.
it increases the MOE.
It will increase the MOE without negatively impacting the rest of the budget. I mean,
Yes.
that's the assumption.
Or we
It's
can,
more than an assumption.
you can reduce the penny and the percentages, so just give
And
them the money.
we could, we have an $8 to $10 million, I mean, here's something about 10, where we could pull it. I mean, and we would be legal by MOE, because MOE is a flat amount. year we gave the extra, we left it alone, I think it was about $3.5 million.
No. Nine.
So, well, no, this year's gonna be, what?
No,
Oh,
not next year.
yeah,
We're here
yeah.
yet.
So,
Yeah, because I budgeted
Jim
sales
didn't
tax
budget a lot of
flat,
money.
I budgeted sales tax and wood tax flat. So you're only got picking up property tax, losing about $9 million, if you go through resolution.
so, I mean,
It's what the federal government says, if you don't raise it by this much, then you're cutting it.
no, I mean, you could, I mean, we could.
That's what we're estimating they're bringing in extra over top of their actual budget. The reason, if you remember last year, discussion was to tell them budget MOE, but leave the percentage of property tax the same.
Yeah.
And budget sales tax and will based on the prior year, even though we know it's gonna be more. So that's how much they're gonna bring in above, that's the estimate of what they're gonna bring in above revenue this year. Now, if we leave, if you leave them at 60.87% of the new estimated revenue they're bringing, and not the same then that should be, so they're gonna change your amount. It should be somewhere around 10.7. So, and these are based on no certified rates, these are based on estimated property tax, not knowing certified rate right now.
Yeah.
Not knowing exact
I mean,
amount.
there's some, which is why, so let me ask you.
And I put 0.9% growth on your property tax, and it's been historically anywhere, the lowest I've ever seen is 1 up to 3 or 4, so we think the certified rate's gonna produce more than that, unless something really weird happens.
Katie, you just pointed at a 60.87%. Is that of our total budget?
That's of your tax, of your property tax.
Strictly the property tax?
They are, they are currently $1.37.09 of your 2.252 rate. Can you move that little?
Okay, so that's what we're, but they also get a sales tax number?
Yes, the sales tax, the second 50% has to be used for school purposes, and it has to be by, so we're using, right now, we take the counties and the schools, and we put it all together, you know, the whole amount. We put 66.66% to schools, 33.323% in debt service. And that's the division's been here for 30 years. Now, the other thing they get is your wheel tax, but that was based on referendum. And I believe it's 70% they receive and 30% highway. I believe exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be in favor of changing the ratios. I mean, they've been consistent. I know that's a good bump, but I mean,
But the thing is, we have the other county, the rest of, we got the non-school people, their requests are, we're 7 or 8 million above.
You need to go.
We need to cut
Well, we're gonna
out of the county piece, so,
Well, if you count highway, his is in bad shape too, remember, too.
I mean, I'm just saying,
No, I get it.
we've got a big problem over here
So I think, but here's
before
the
just saying
thing.
yay.
Well, I mean, we can do the one first, right? I mean, maybe the right thing to do is go through the rest of the county first and make sure that we've got all that, and then if we
Yeah,
can,
that's what I'm at.
then we come back and revisit.
Remember, your debt service has a revenue excess and a very large balance that some of it needs to be bled off.
So here's I'll go ahead. So this, we were in there, and I've been through this really quickly, but here's my opinion here. And this is broad strokes, like kind of strategic look. I'm not, Terry, we're way better when we get to the tactics, but I think that what we're broadly looking at is we've got $10 million of recurring revenue that we will have from debt service that we will no longer, if we choose to continue to service it, we'll actually get penalized when we pay the federal government for nothing. So effectively we got, in addition to the additional revenue that we have from sales tax, we have that $10 million, which is coming on. We've got, so hold that over here, because it's recurring. So in everything salary-wise recurring that the county employees, not schools, are asking for, it's about $10 million. So of that, roughly 2.7, I think, is the 5%, which we said start here. So that 5% we started with 2.7 million. It's 2.7 million. So, then we've got another 7.5 that they asked for on top of it. So my thought is, we've seen a lot today that I don't think that all that 7 is justified. I think we go through that 7. We start with the 2.7 over here. That's going to be covered. We try to whittle that 7.5 down a bit, cut that down to about half. That gets us a lot closer to the 5 million recurring. So we've got 10 million recurring. We take half of that. I think we shoot for 5.5 this year. We're still putting money in the bank. We're still actually doing better than we were last year because we've got that extra additional revenue. That's more that we can play with next year in order to continue kind of being good, predictable, and growing kind of judiciously. So that's what I think we would do in order to handle the recurring salary on the county side. If we can hit that, then I think we can leave this as it is. If we can't quite get there, then maybe we dip into this a little bit, but I think that's what we shoot for. Now let's talk about capital expenditure side, because there are quite a few of those too.
The other thing you need to remember, if you remove the 5, because there's going to be one general permanently, you still have the 5 left, and a huge balance already.
That's what I'm about to talk about. That's what I'm about to talk about. So we've got 5 over here that we still get penalized on. So we take that 5 and we move that over to capital. And that gives us some flexibility on capital, and I actually agree with you. I think we need to burn down our reserve, if you want to call it, which is sitting over in.
Yes, I mean, the
so
government doesn't want us to have the citizens' money making.
That's right. So what we've got here is we will pull a total of 15 million out of debt service, 10 of which will be coming from the recurring, which is net. Another 5 we burn down off of our reserves, which are currently sitting in debt service. We can therefore handle most of our capital expenditures. We may need to whittle those down a bit. We'll be able to take care of all the county employees. We won't be able to give them everything we want, but we will be able to give them about 60% across the board of what they want, maybe 70, and then we'll still be able to take care of the schools or get there close. That's how I think we ought to try to play this.
What about the highway? What did you think? We'll go quick over the highway.
We need to look, let's show everybody highway and kind of how that looks. And its own model.
We need to go over this one.
I agree with Jeremy. I think we should push schools to the end of county.
I agree with you. I think we all agree.
But we really need to do.
And putting numbers just to be putting numbers, I think we should put numbers like services that are needed, not like, well, here's some money, go have it.
Well, no, but I mean, they've asked for what they've asked for, right? I mean, they've asked for what they've asked for, and I've got all these aggregated up. They've asked for what they've asked for, and I'm looking over here.
Have they finished their budget yet?
Who? The schools have not.
They're waiting for me to provide.
Schools are waiting to provide some level
See how much
of
is there?
guidance.
Yes.
See how much is there, and then they'll.
Well, I'm stop them from asking.
They're just asking for, I don't think.
What do they need? I mean, that's what I want. I guess that's why this conversation feels awkward, is like, what are their needs? They're waiting to see what,
So
it just feels awkward.
it is, I mean, it's this chicken and egg kind of thing. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I think they've only had, they've had limited time to fully prepare because the state has gone back, because of the voucher issue. They didn't know how much they were going to get from the state for the long
Their
time.
money was not going to be affected by
That
that.
had
That
was all
had
new
absolutely nothing to do with it.
Well,
They were told that their money would be solid.
yes, they were told that.
I mean,
There
we're
were
told
two
that all the
different-
time,
There were
too.
two
Let's go
different
back to
bills
that
that
one.
were competing with it too, so.
That
Anyway.
shouldn't have affected them.
In any case, I mean, I have a little bit of sympathy on that. If I'm told, hey, we get a pretty good estimate of what we're gonna get. That's a little different. We don't rely on the state the way they do.
They should more be saying that it's the CHISA formula that they don't know, not the vouchers. I'd buy this CHISA, we don't know what CHISA's giving us, and that one I'd buy, but not the voucher. But I do see that there's.
So, I mean, in any case, you're not wrong that there's this chicken and egg. At the end of the day, I think the decision here is, let's do the county stuff first. Let's make sure that this gets taken care of, and then we'll come back and revisit. Does that make sense? All right. David, I know we're ahead.
Now, on the highway, we talked about it some this morning, but if you look, we're showing the 2.4 negative, let's kind of recap it, going down there. two things. The state wants you to have 2 months of reserves, just like our general fund, and any operating fund. That wouldn't include your capital funds, or courthouse jail. So that means he's about 4.7 from what they want to see. If you don't have a minimum of half that much, then they actually give you a note from the state saying you are deficient. They'll actually tell you you're deficient. So right now, we're looking back at his appropriations, can you click it, but the big ask he's asking for is asphalt increases. That's right, that one right, which one is it? Yep, that's where he's asked for $4 million in a local asphalt than he had, $2 million more than he had last year. That's where most of his, is coming from. He's asking for asphalt, not employees or anything, at least if it's asphalt for the road.
So that $2 million is actually a large chunk of what we need to, of what's putting over.
Yeah, he's asking for
And
asphalt.
it's because of the requirement of 2 months operating.
Because he's told you, as Toby said, there's two things with asphalt, steel, and that's been under massive inflation. Everything has, but that's one of the things.
So it flattened a little bit last year, didn't it? I mean.
Still pretty bad. And then the other thing is, same thing that Ms. Harden said, is there's a big backlog of all the county roads that need to repair.
So how many roads did we get paved this year?
How many miles?
Yeah,
We
could
need-
you,
we
what
need-
is
that's a
it,
good
for
question.
64? Yep. Oh, that's how many we had? No, that's 450.
Yeah, I do know that I think we targeted to shoot for like
54 miles?
less, I mean, he might have.
I would think it was around
I mean,
No, we used
no,
to
we
be 30,
used to
he
do
went
30.
way up.
Yeah, he was like 50 is what he was.
Yeah.
30 is 150, did you end up doing 45?
But that's the question, I need to know
You
what.
gave him ARPA money is how he did it, for 2 years, that's what's helped him out. Now the ARPA money is
off.
gone, and you really couldn't do it again past December anyway.
We couldn't do anything.
Even if you used some of the money.
But I know like my road needs it.
Yeah.
We can go over
But
it.
I'm afraid to ask you.
So David, I do have a question here, though. Have we used,
Yeah, he's on the list, but he's not here yet.
Hey,
Oh, okay, do you want to go over health department?
no, before we do that, I have a question though, and we can talk about it more later. But, so could you potentially pull, like, set aside some in capital?
This is what we do right now, you've got what's equivalent to 1 penny, and it'll be a less amount this coming year, because you're gonna be the same dollars, but it's put over in capital for, equipment. We can put money in the capital projects for asphalt.
That's what I'm saying, that reduces.
Let me tell you 2 things, though, my caution. If you call CTAS, they'll tell you that you won't report it on your maintenance of effort, because they only report certain revenues on the maintenance of effort in the highway fund. However, if you read the reasoning they do that is based on local funding or maintenance of effort. So if you got into the biggest argument, I think technically that does go to MOE,
But I like that better, because we pull it in capital, and it doesn't go to MOE.
it don't go into the calculation, but I think the argument where the actual law, the intent that it does.
I mean, either way, my point here is that, well, so are you saying that they're gonna go try to pull it in, and they're still gonna apply this?
Here's what I'm saying. When they apply the MOE test, it's based on local revenue, so they're gonna take the local revenue numbers in the highway department always. CTAS is the one doing it, but if you read back to why the MOE's there, it's based on local maintenance of effort. We're paying for that asphalt through this capital projects fund with property tax for a highway purpose. I think it's very argumentative, though they reported it that way, that technically your MOE may include that, just like
I
this.
would argue it would be in it.
We could,
CTAS say it won't be, but I'm very cautious.
but,
But I'm cautious. I'm super cautious if I think there's a gray area. I think it's very gray there.
If he's asking for $4 million, we don't have to give him the $4 million either.
You're saying, you're arguing, I mean, I just hear you saying, no matter what you do, you're increasing MOE.
That's my concern.
he thinks that that was what CTAS may argue back.
CTAS
You
gonna
can
say
have a
it,
slight
don't
trick to make it look different.
Well, yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
where we're
trying
at.
to
Matt
do.
saying there's a slight trick in.
Well, I'm okay with that.
David's
I'm
looking
looking at local sales tax revenue excessive.
So, but the real question is what, you were, I think you were asked, like, how many actually got paid, like, let's, yeah, like.
But
That's not coming out.
I'm looking at the extra money from our local auction sales tax, that percentage, and you want to get all the schools, I think, no, we're gonna back up.
Well, I mean,
Get the highway.
we can look at it. Well, see what they're gonna, let's see if they're gonna make it.
Job function makes the road drivable too. Is the MOE even a factor? I mean, asphalt's not gonna go down in price.
if the price ain't gonna go down, you're not gonna get rid of roads, and we're as efficient as we can in the long term, and you're, what does he say, 30 miles behind or 300 or something, got off the map.
They were paving.
And you're never gonna catch up.
Here, and he wanted to pave like 54 miles.
Yeah,
we did like 45 or 48.
So with that calculations, if you funded that extra $2 million,
But,
you're never gonna fix all the roads still.
but,
It's never gonna be, as long as you got money, it's never gonna be an issue.
you're not gonna get any argument from anybody throughout the county that we need to be paving fewer miles. Like, so but I am interested if we actually hit, like, what did we actually hit? Because there is a point where, you know, there's only so many miles that, with the equipment and personnel that we have, we buy all the asphalt in the world. But probably he's hitting about what he can hit, and we just need to give him whatever it is to allow him to hit that number.
Well, because if he's got only so much equipment and individuals, he's only got two choices. Get more equipment and individuals, or asphalt, or contract out to have asphalt laid, which is one more expensive.
Yeah, which we don't want to do.
Well, we don't unless we know exactly what it costs him to pave a foot or a mile.
But we calculated that last year. We
So I'd
calculated
like to
it.
see that calculation, because I don't understand that calculation.
He's coming.
He's cheap.
It is cheap.
You want to pump
He's cheap.
health department?
He's cheaper than
I
anybody.
haven't cheaper than
What page?
20 years, so I don't know.
Does everybody want to look at health?
Yes, please. Let's see.
Would you guys want to look at? Health department had an accident, he fell off the ladder. He fell off the ladder, so I told him I present his best, because his is pretty simple.
Al fell off the ladder?
Yes.
Yeah, he's like,
Is he okay?
he'll be out till mid-June.
Okay, Al has two big groups of employees, okay?
What page?
Page number, page number 66. But if we can, let's start on the salaries, and I'll explain his two big things he's got on here. He's got one DGA, which is called Direct Grant Access, and is completely flowed through the county. It's the majority of his employees, it's the majority of his costs. He also has state employees you won't see on here at all. That way, when you look at his budget here and you go to his health department, you know he has a bigger operation than you expect, because those are paid directly by the state. But his DGA directly flows through. The way the state's working now, because you guys agreed you're going to go with the state raises because you didn't want to fund additional, which is the correct choice. There's no raises in here because the state won't know what the raises are. He said about August or September. So there's no raises in here, and I made it pink the way you guys would be aware, and I remember to tell you about that. Then we go back up. This section here is the county funded employees. He's asked for the 5% plus the 6 to come into these totals right here. And he has a total, I think, of 4 employees, 4 in one part. Is that correct?
So he's talking about
3 fulls in one part.
11% increase on.
Well, that's what a lot of these.
Is it custodian and janitor,
Except for the robberies.
are those interchangeable?
What now?
Custodians and janitors
Is,
interchangeable?
well, custodian, somebody cleans up stuff, a janitor usually janitorial.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
when I compare them, what I'd like to know,
I think it's pretty much the
Yeah,
same.
I think he's like a courier sometimes, and stuff, he's
Yeah. And then if we can go back to the main front page over here, because he didn't ask for a whole lot of stuff. And he would have been here, but he fell off and got hurt. So you notice he didn't request hardly anything through there in the DGA, and then I think he asked for 5. No, he didn't.
So what's the $33,000 increase just on?
Which one are we?
It's health.
I'm just talking about his total.
Health insurance, 277 to 301.
is
The health
Total
insurance
salary, I don't think he asked for nothing.
salary?
is $18,000.
They changed all these types.
His health right here.
The health insurance had a 5%
Going from 60
rate
to
increase,
34.
but if somebody changed type of coverage, it'll do that, or if they didn't take insurance the year before and they opted to take it this year. And we don't, historically, the Budget Committee of the Commission has not held that against departments because you don't want to put a position where you put pressure on departments to discriminate against hiring people's families because it's illegal and concerning in multiple issues. And it's still concerning because we like this, and I've looked at the demographics for years and the cost. The family we fund the most into, the employees the least, employee plus ones most. On average, your employee plus ones cost as much as your family because of demographics. Your employee plus one's a lot more empty nesters and they get more expensive per person.
I was looking at.
Even though we fund more, we do it into one big group to cost it.
What's health department DG?
Yeah.
The grant, that direct grant access, and it's a completely flow-through grant, that's.
Oh, that's the flow through, okay.
Since we have a minute, if I could go off in the weeds really deep, because with health insurance, from the insurance board, our consultants have told us about what's the drug? Ozempic.
Yeah.
So, just so, for general information, while we're talking about healthcare.
That is.
It's
So,
It's really not
it is a diabetic medication. So what I want to let you know is, at the beginning of last month, or in a 12-month period, whenever we're at, in the beginning, like the first 6 months of that, we were just paying for that for anybody that got the prescription. But our consultants went in with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they made it just so if you're pre-diabetic that you would get it. So this drug right now isn't costing that much, as things go, according to our consultant. So we're at about 113, I think she said around 113 people are on this, but we are looking at potentially this drug could go to $1,000 a month. She just yeah.
Per prescription?
Yeah.
So.
So I want to let you know that. I mean, our insurance trust fund is very healthy. But this is an issue that the consultant did want to bring to my attention.
So what do we
They
do?
say why this is the problem they changed one level.
I mean,
But here's the issue you've had for years. Your prescription drug as a percentage of your insurance has been growing much faster than anything else, becoming a larger and larger percentage. The trust looked at dividing the prescription section off and bidding it and doing certain things. The state went in the same year and approved a law that was supposed to help small pharmacies and stopped all that.
yes,
Increase
it's
the cost.
hurt us
So
really
you
bad.
really probably need to urge your state legislators to repeal that. It's costing businesses and the county a lot of money. It was made to protect small pharmacies, and it really doesn't do that at all.
Who puts the legislation?
Maybe we should go there.
We'll get the consultants.
The consultants could talk.
It was supposed to protect the.
We went over that.
I don't remember, it's been a couple of years back, but it was supposed to protect the small pharmacies, and what it did is prevent us.
That bill's never,
We'll get, you know, that bill was, can you tell us more about that? It's
So
been a couple of years back.
we discussed it, was it
How about
the
you never
January
do
meeting?
anything?
You can watch our film in January, Bethany, our consultant, explains it.
Brittany.
From what financial method?
It's that big.
the self-insurance.
Oh, you guys can
So, and I think from budget and also from the commission, we are beefing up the insurance board some, so that we can take more of a look at where we're at in these items and bringing some items in. While we got time, if I can dive into insurance a little bit.
What did the bill specifically do?
It was supposed to address protecting small pharmacies, but it's really.
Yeah, but I mean, what did it?
That was what it was for. It's been a couple of years back. And at the time, we were actually in the process, or the committee was, of actually getting actuarial done and hiring consultants to look about dividing out the prescription drug coverage separately, the way that basically the county would get a fixed cost with a vendor. And it would run through the mail order and through certain vendors. It would save us a lot of money, because it's an escalating cost. When it changed, it made the savings disappear. And our consultant could probably, can you make a note to send Bob Sheep an email if he could send some kind of little summary, or him or Brittany on that bill, and the bill number, and then I'll forward it.
Brittany would like to, she is the one on the.
Yeah, I'd like to read it and see. I want to know all about this bill.
Well, we covered it some in the insurance video.
That was in January, you said?
And I just don't remember.
Was it January? So I just want to let you know that, that is a thing in our insurance, that does trouble me more than any of the other stuff. But our insurance trust is healthy. One thing that we haven't done in the past is report those numbers to the main commission. So I'd like to take this time to ask y'all, are you interested? I mean, it's a lot of numbers where they're late at night. I don't think
They're on the financial management, they're on the financial report we do.
It's this guy right here.
So if y'all are okay with just what you're getting, that's good.
I think so.
Yeah, so I know what this is. I understand why they did it, honestly. So I think what you're talking about is,
I think the intent was to protect small pharmacies.
SB 1617 and HB 1398.
SB what? Go slower.
SB 1617 and HB 1398. So I actually think, so man, this is one of these that on face value, I kind of would agree with it, because I understand why they're doing what they're doing, but I see it also why it has a secondary order. So you have to know what the pharmacy benefit manager is. So these are like your Optums and your CVS Caremarks, and what they do is they will dictate a schedule of rates. And I can tell you more about this later because it's way off. They'll dictate a schedule of rates, and they're these middlemen. And so they can be very opaque in what the actual cost of a drug is. This attempted to kind of make them be more transparent, but in so doing, for certain drugs, part of the way they do it is by undercutting prices with loss leaders, and so you can get hosed on certain drugs, and that's exactly what has probably happened here. Anyway.
We're getting hosed a bunch.
Yeah, this is, I bet.
So, can we, Toby, we're all finished with everybody except you, can we?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're all caught up, Toby.
So, all right, back on top here.
Let me tell you what page Mr. Toby's on.
Yeah.
He is on page number,
So Toby,
page number 103, and then times are on the board. Just call Toby.
come on up, please.
Toby knows.
Where's the next contestant?
One thing I wanted to talk about was on the last page of my budget. It shows that it's an increase overall of 27%. One thing that me and David have done the last 2 years is we backed out state aid funding in the asphalt column. And I've got $1,785,000 for state aid for this year. And of course, I know me and David know it, and I know some of y'all know it, some of you might know it, is that 98% of that money is coming back. So once we do the projects, that equals up 1.785 billion. 98% of that money comes back to us once we complete the jobs. The state pays us back. So of that $3 billion that's giving us the 27%, if you back that out, it backs down to 11% increase. So that's something I want to be very clear on, is that the state pays us, just as soon as we get the job done, we turn everything in to them, and then they pay us back within, it's usually about 3 to 4 weeks. So when you look at our budget, overall, the increase of 1.2 million, which is around 11 point something percent, with the inflationary cost of all my materials, like asphalts went up $6-7 a ton across the board. Aggregates are anywhere from 15 to 18% increase in cost. And then concrete didn't go up as fast. Concrete, I think, was 3-4 tons a yard. I was expecting it to be a little higher. I was glad it wasn't. So, the thing that has really been kicking my tail is roads that we've been doing. Of course, me and Matt thought, with the maintenance of effort, because we got 800 miles of roadway, we're shooting for around 50 miles a year. And we're getting, if we do 50 miles with our new prices, I think E-mix is at $84 a ton, and CW is at $81 a ton. So with the 1,300 tons per mile, we're somewhere around $5.2 million in asphalt just to get around that 50-mile threshold.
5.2 million
last year.
How many did you get this last year?
We were close. I hate to say, of course, I haven't finished this year.
Sure.
We're still last year. I think we're going to be really close to around 50. Okay. I know we're a little over a year and a half now. We're somewhere around 87 miles that we've done since I've been in office, which is I feel like it's really good. We're looking at the thing that has really hurt me the most is some of these roads are years past of when they should have been done. We're going in and undercutting roads too good in some places
30 and 35 was the average, and we were targeting between 45 and 50.
So what I'm trying to do is get close to that 50-mile threshold for repairs of 800,000 to $1 million.
Yeah, and I mean, you are, so I think ideally, how often do you feel you should replace the road? If it's not,
I'm trying to get the threshold up. I mean, you know, the process has not been exactly what it should be. What we're doing with our density controls and compaction rates, we're going to try to get around the 15, 17-year threshold.
So I'm just explaining this because if you do 40 divided by 400 divided by 50, it's not 15, it's 8, right? So you're like, wait a minute, that's way more than we need to be doing. But the problem, as I understand it, is that we are, over the course of the next 4 to 5 years, trying to play catch up so that we can get on a 15-year cycle. So you're surging now.
That's the goal. A 15-year cycle is 52 miles a year.
So, yeah, that's the...
One of the reasons for the backlog is because of the ice and snow material that was being put down degraded the asphalt.
And David brings up a good point. What has happened in the past, and I'm not adding blame to it. In theory, they're trying to help the public as quick as possible, but we were having an icy snow condition. And what you do is you go out and put, you know, people ask me all the time, why does the county roads look so good? It's because they don't do anything to it. And so salt is very minor to it. The brine is very minor, but what they have been doing in the past years here, they've been mixing in calcium with the salt and just opening it up and pouring it up the salt, just leaking out the truck. So what they figured out is when they do that to the hills and the shaded areas, and I can take you down some roads where you're driving along, the road looks great, right, for miles, and then you get into these hilly areas and all the shaded areas where the ice and stuff would melt, it looks like Beirut. It looks like something that's what happened here. And so the calcium in it bleaches out the liquid AC and burns out the liquid AC in the top coat of the surface. And then when it starts, all these voids start coming out, then it starts rattling and breaks down the potholes.
I was going to address that because the roads turn to absolute garbage within a month or less. It's just like this road is perfectly fine before they put anything down.
Yeah.
So I've come to the opinion, everybody helps quit putting in the road so we can preserve them. But so, are you saying?
What happens with the state a lot of times, Jeremy, and I've talked to the director.
Because the state's obviously doing this with the calcium and just screwing the roads up.
No, what they're doing is they do the brine and salt, but what they do, like when the temperature reached 0, and we did that, it was a perfect storm. So we went in and salted and we blazed. But what I do is I blaze the snow and ice. If we're getting down close to the road, I don't blaze it. You know, the plows are just for the snow. And so you scrape it off with the salt and you let Mother Nature, the big light in the sky is what melts the snow and ice. And when I'm driving up 109 and you got, and let's say, Jeremy, you've got a few spots that are already raveled and the water has got up under them, what happens is when you get down to 0 and below freezing, it freezes and it pushes it up.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're scraping the roads, and you're seeing these state trucks, you're seeing sparks coming off the way.
Yeah, they do. I've watched them.
Yeah, and so what happens is they're scraping the road when you don't need to. And what's happened, the asphalt's pushed up, so they have plowed the road up because it's pushed up. It's higher than the elevation should be, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's something we're never going to do here. I try to do the salt and the plowing, and then we stop. And then I get beat up for it, but I'm saving our roads because basically they just have to wait another day and it's melted anyway.
So, I mean, just confirming, you're not putting that calcium down in yours?
No.
Like, I mean,
We'll never do that.
you see the state doing it, because, I mean, the interstates are a mess, the ramps are a mess, state highways, roads, Long Haul Pike is a mess, 31W
Basically what
is
they
a mess.
did is they had the asphalt push up, and when they plowed it, they would plow it too.
Oh, yeah.
Snow and ice too thin.
No, I watched it, and sparks, did you hear it? And you just watch sparks literally come up.
Yeah, we'll never do that. And the
Good.
thing is that people have been patient with me. I said, listen, the sun's gonna come out tomorrow, by lunchtime, you're gonna see a huge difference. because there's some songs out there, and it will melt. And the brine works, you know, here's the thing about brine, it's a gamble. If you're sitting there looking at the temperatures and snow is supposed to fall, and you go out and brine the road and it's just snowfall, well, it melts immediately. And it's very mild, it's very diluted product. But what happens is, if you miss the temperature wrong and it rains, it just washes it off and you just waste money.
So I hesitate to do this because I was just on my own, and we're doing it, but I'm trying to get us back into here on that, because I know we're getting into some operating.
Well, there's effects like,
I get
this dollar affects whether he's,
So let me
I have two questions earlier, we get an answer.
let me, so I wanted to, let me ask this one real quick, then go ahead. I'm looking at I'm just trying to do the roll-ups here. Your COLA is a little shy of $150,000 extra, which, we're not messing with that, that's kind of was baseline, we put all that out there. In additional, requested additional salary, $487,000. David, kind of, we've been doing this for everybody. Where are we looking at for post COLA and also post his request versus market for truck drivers and laborers? As best we can get. I'm just trying to see where we're at to market.
And part of that, I did put a little over $30,000 overtime, and that may be part of it. And the reason I did that is because we do comp time and I didn't know this coming into this office. I didn't realize how many 1 hour, 1 o'clock call-outs I was going to get in this position. So what you have is that when people come in on Saturday night or Saturday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, they get comp time.
Now, these are all hourly employees?
Yes.
what's the 1 o'clock in the morning call?
Well, when a tree's down and it's blocking the entire road, we go out immediately.
After storms,
whatever. And so, generally what happened is we built up so much comp time, it really screws me from the standpoint of, you've got so many people who built up so much comp time that they're having to take off.
So I've actually got an interesting thought. Well, so David, I want to first ask you this. Like, I just want to get these market comps, and then I just had a thought. If some of these we could have changed to potentially to non-exempt.
You have to meet very specific requirements such as executive, administrative, so no, basically laborers would not fall into any.
But I will say this, we do have call-outs almost every weekend.
Really?
On average, yes. I mean, it's amazing.
Is that normal for does every county do that like that? Like, I mean, in the middle of the night and on the weekends?
Well, the thing is, people, it's their road, and a lot of times that's the only way out in some of these roads. So we go out, if we know the road, we'll ask the question, is it blocking the full road? Do we need to bring a backup? Is it just chainsaw? And we ask the question because depending on what I'm going to send out. In a lot of cases, we just go out with chainsaw and get out of the road and we pick up the brush that week. And so it is, and of course, it's during storm season, and we're just coming out of storm season. So we have had a lot of problems on that, and that's the bulk of our comp time because we flat out just mostly work 40 hours during the week.
But is this customary for all counties to do that, or is that just something that you were doing?
It's just a safety feature for us because we have so many people going to work like there's as many people working on the weekends as there is during the week. And the thing is, the sheriff stays out there with lights on so people can see it. Because a lot of times it's a curve coming out the other side, and you don't want somebody just coming down the road and hitting it.
Well, it's amazing. I helped my son and we were done at 4 in the morning. I can't believe how many people are going to work at 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Because you almost have to sometimes sit down in Nashville.
Well,
we've got to be there at 7.
I'm sitting there. I'm out there a lot of times, and it's amazing that people that pull up that we'll have people, we'll have a traffic jam at 1 o'clock.
I'll do this, but I'll tell you the two.
So what are these? What can we get on comps?
Right now, I'm looking at the street and public works, and they really don't have things like laborers or truck drivers. The only thing I see would be crew supervisor would be like his foreman. What is his foreman's making?
Bridge woman, 7
.76?
The average for a foreman or a crew supervisor for all the larger counties as of 2023 was 62,483. So if you add 62,483, so if you add 1.35 to that, they kind of fall.
So we're, I mean, the area foreman, I mean, our mower foreman,
We're at par.
right there, we're slightly, we would be ahead of that, we'd be more than that.
But oddly enough, they didn't survey, that I can tell, and I'm looking through it again, dump truck drivers.
The only thing, I mean, here's the thing, of all of the departments, I really would like to have seen comps, but of all the departments, you guys have, we actually know people have left. It's not people talking about it, it's like they've gone. So, but, I mean, so, the only reason so we know that there's a market adjustment that needs to be had, but that market adjustment that we're looking at, if we're looking at it in aggregate, I mean, it's looking like 25% in some cases. I mean, 20%, right? Because we gave 5% across the board, roughly 50,000, and then you're asking for another almost 500.
What it boils down to, the state did a pay scale, increase in their pay scale. I went to Williamson, Wilson, and Montgomery to see where they were at, on their pay scales, and basically where they were starting at was where was above where we topped out at. I had a guy leave, had 16 years experience, wasn't making $24 an hour, and he was a CDL, Class A CDL, and A operator, and that's where the state's starting out at, with no experience. And that's just the municipality, that's just the government agencies. And then and because of COVID, the private sectors just went through the roof. And so, yes, we've got great benefits, but we also are behind on the pay. And so what I was trying to do is give everybody,
I mean, I get it, because you're in a unique situation. Most people that we're dealing with are competing only with other government entities, right? Police are going to compete only against government entities, teachers, et cetera, but you guys have to compete in the private sector too, because the truck driver doesn't just have to work.
and see, everybody that I got is special. Their experience at paving crews, I mean, they make a lot of money in the private sector. I'm not saying we have to pay them that rate, but I'm just saying I need to give them up just to keep them. And I've got a very low head count. I mean, I've got 7 guys on my paving crew, and Roger Crew's got 10 or 11 guys.
But the majority of your ask is actually coming from mix.
Yes.
I mean, the majority of your, so 3.5 million, and of that, 3.5 million looks like it's coming from.
But like I said, the 1.785 is coming back.
Well, yeah, but we still have to front it. And we still have to, the problem we're having, David, you can explain this better than I, the problem we have is that by fronting the majority of that, you're subject to requiring, it's counting against your operating budget, which means you have to keep so much in reserve, which means that
They want you to keep 2 months of expense. They want you to keep 2 months of expense in reserves, the state's recommendation.
But that's the thing, we're looking at the expenses of materials and how expensive it is, but you have to have the people that can put that material back.
No, I'm less, that's what I'm kind of getting at, I'm not as much arguing.
And I'm looking
at mix.
I'm looking at $2 to $3 above 5% is what I'm looking at. And the thing is that gets us, and there's nobody sitting in this room that's at fault here. It's over a period of time that I just don't feel like it's been moved up correctly. And now because of COVID and the different things that's played out in the last 5 years, we're just kind of behind the 8 ball.
No, I get it, and we put out that our number one goal is, other than keeping our tax rate where it is taking care of county employees. We said that, you see it built in, we built in a whole extra column and try to do both the COLA and this market adjustment. I'm not saying no on that, I think we may can argue on the numbers, but I'm more talking about your mix, because that's where the biggest amount is coming from this year, and that's what's getting us close. So, David, go ahead.
There was a question from Ms. Boyd, and I think that's gonna answer some of your mixed questions. She had two questions. One, I think you get $5 million, and she was asking how you're spread. I told her that was a Toby question. And then number two, they were asking what roads qualify for state aid. And I told them, my understanding, what I remember they needed to ask you was it had to connect two state roads to qualify for state aid on both ends.
It does. And so what, the governor was good enough, gracious enough to help us get all the counties $300 million. That Sumner County got 5.1. I did 1.1. I will finish this year at 1.9 million, and this coming budget year will be 1.785, and I'm looking at the next year being probably around that 1.9. We'll get to where we could finish at the 5.1 million after next year. So we'll have a goal, and I've been meeting with the congressmen and some of the senators and stuff, and what they're trying to do is generate maybe another help an infusion after the third or fourth year. So, of course, what the state aid roads, I will clarify, the state aid roads make up about 15% of our overall roadways, so it's an infusion into the main arteries. These roads are the bigger roads, and so what happens is it's a great infusion because it gives some of the roads that the majority of the people are driving on every day. And so that's why it's so important, because you sit there and you look at Mount Vernon and North Corinth Road, and there's several of them that it just makes sense because there's so much, the daily traffic on it is so much higher. You know, I'm looking at this, the sides of it, I'm trying to be fair in my roadway rating on what roads I pick. Okay, if there's a road that's in dire need and there's 300 homes on it, it's top gun. If there's one that's in bad shape and there's courthouses on it, it's important. But I may go and do some repairs on that while I'm really catering and trying to get the major roads done that are the worst first, and try to keep it as safe as possible.
Can I ask a question back to labor? You know, I'm looking at these wages in $43,000 to $58,000 a year, and then I'm looking at their loaded costs that are, you know, in the high 80s and 90s. Do the benefits that really are 40% on top of the salary? These are serious, and I don't, you know, I know we've talked about this with the Rogers Group, that you know, we don't pay our people even with the benefits like some of those groups do, but I'm more familiar with the smaller companies, and I gotta believe not everybody who leaves you is going to a Rogers Group. Rogers is the biggest in the world at what they do, and so do these benefits mean very little to these people? I mean, is these some things we should shut off and increase their pay?
You got fast food restaurants paying $16, $18 an hour.
Yeah, but they don't give them insurance.
I mean, if it's all about dollars, we can find a dollar.
The thing is that the dollars, from what I see,
holiday pays big.
the money, the benefits mean a lot to people when they get married and start having a family.
Right.
The younger generation coming in, not so much. And so what you get into, you know, you mentioned Rogers Group. I mean, when I was there, you know, I can't even compare what they make versus what we make. It's ridiculous how much more they make. And their benefits are great. Bonuses. I mean, you just want to make it. They got it.
Would the youth that's coming in, would they rather us, instead of us putting their 5% more into their retirement, would they rather have it in their salary? Instead of, I mean, we'll continue putting in the county portion of 6%, 6% is what the county takes with them, and then that 11.12. So we could take part of that money. It's everybody though. We can put it up front and make the salaries higher. I mean, that's something that we talked about with the sheriff's department back last October.
That's how we do it.
And I mean, it is a thing, but what you need to know, and David can speak to this, it's everybody.
Well,
And it's not everybody, like, it's new employees starting forward, but it's all departments.
So, and I'm gonna say.
But that is a strategy.
I'm gonna mention this
Being
real
more
quick, just
competitive.
because
I think it's worth it.
it's important to understand also the overall economic environment, right? Like, the average, what's the average rent in Sumner County nowadays? $1,800, something like that? $2,000? So wait, no, let's do the math. Let's say $20,000, $25,000. So $53,000 minus taxes, you can't live. I mean,
You
I'm just
really
being
put
real,
me
you
out
know
of
what I
the
mean?
weeds earlier.
I mean,
Well, I will tell you, the average age of my department is probably over 40. I don't have very many young starters that come in.
That's right.
Our guys are experienced.
I mean,
And every one of them can walk out the door and make $10 more an hour. And that's the part of, I'm not asking for $10 more, but I'm saying, I'm wanting to take, and I know several of you did, I want to take baby steps in the right direction.
yeah, I mean,
I'm, because I think as long as they see that, this bonus is huge. I can't tell you, I ain't grown men here up. I mean, they're just like, we've never had it. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I'm telling all of you, thank you too, because I don't know that I've said this to you, so I'm looking at you in the face. It meant the world to our department. It was just $135,000, but it was a big deal to my department. It was huge. And what I'm trying to do is take this and really need some extra money on the payroll. And the thing is, benefits are important, David, but also, you know, when you take the experience that I've got and the work that they're putting into our road system and calculate that versus us just scrapping a paving crew and just subbing it out, you know, the $400-something thousand turns into millions of dollars because we're going to do probably 40% less work at the same price. And so the thing of it is that when you look at it that way, it's a deal. It's a deal to keep, to retain the people and experience. Now, I've managed divisions for Jones Brothers and Rogers Group. These people that we've got here are great. They're loyal. They love working for the county. I want to keep them. And doing almost 90 miles of road in the first year and a half is unheard of. I mean, we're by the second year, we will have already done what they've done the 4 years before. And it's that, and they want to, they're excited. People are bringing thank you cards by it all. They're thanking us for the workmanship and going, man, this road looks great. And the thing is, we're doing it right. We're doing it exactly like we're supposed to do. These roads are going to last longer. Y'all are getting a great product.
I agree, but my point is that at some point, you have to say, well, what's enough and what's too much and what's not enough. I mean, when I think of people in the contracting business right now who are slamming drywall 6 days a week, 60 hours a week, and they're making $20 an hour and they don't have insurance and they don't have all of the perks that our people get, at what point do they say, man, I'm making $20 an hour with no benefits, and this guy's making a salary of $88,000 when you include his benefits? There's got to be some parity, and that's what we're trying to find.
Well, you're looking at positions that we don't have. I'm talking about positions that they're skilled, they're certified, they're licensed to do what they do. And the thing is that when you have somebody, drywall people are important, but there's also, that's their market. My market of where my employees are, they are well underpaid, and they can go get more.
so here's the thing, I mean, I get it, and I think everybody here, but you've had loss, like you had people actually leave. I mean, I don't think everybody here knows you need a market adjustment. I think there is some question on like, can we do all of this year? I don't know. I think we'll end up some discussion. It's a big, but some of this, yes. I mean, some of, the COLA, it's 100%. The COLA is absolutely happening. I don't see anybody, again, I'm not speaking for everybody. I don't see anybody voting against that. I think that second column there it's a big jump, and I'm not saying no, just saying that, like, just being honest, I foresee that there's going to be some discussion.
So I guess what I look at, I had a 10-minute conversation when I took office about extra bigs trying to finish people because guess what? It's hot. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. It's rated higher than police.
No, I understand, because you've got employees that were skeptical about you when you won your election, and they've called me back and said, I was totally wrong about Tony. He's a great boss. He appreciates us. I've heard lots of great things about you, and I think probably the reason a lot of them are staying is because you're running the department. But what we're saying to you is, we've got, we're constantly fighting the dollars. That's our biggest job as the legislative, arm of the county. And we're looking for help. What can we do to put more money in their pocket and not spend as much more? I mean, and that's why I asked about the benefits. Are any of these benefits, like dental, does dental not matter as much to them as?
I think it was the benefits. It's like I do. I've probably got one of the smallest departments in the county, and I've got probably one of the oldest departments in the county. And they're all very experienced, and that's the reason I'm having trouble, because you can cherry pick these guys, right? And everybody knows when they're getting it. And I mean, some of these people that are stealing them are my friends. I'm wanting to shoot them. And the thing is, you're talking about smaller companies. I've owned the smaller companies. I talked to my friends that own the smaller companies, and they're fussing about, they're paying $22 an hour just for somebody that's breathing and has a driver's license. I mean, that's serious.
I know.
And that's without the CDL. That's without all that. And I've got truck drivers that are making $19 an hour and they're CDL drivers. And you can go out, I can take off any direction and get a job driving a truck for $28 an hour. And it's just the facts of it. And so this one I'm asking for is not going to get me there. But it's going to come a long way to where if we can do this year and then do the COLAs year over year going from there, that's going to help me retain my guys and do the Class A work that we're doing.
I get it. And here's the ultimate rub. This year, we can do a good bit, but we got to also, where I try to think 3 to 5 years out. And we can't, at least it's hard for me personally to support things that put us on a trajectory toward a tax increase in that time frame. Because we had 2 of them back to back. Just like that's really the balancing point, right? And I'm not somebody who's like, oh, you never have a tax increase. At some point that may be necessary, but given that we just had 2 of them back to back, it's very different. We have to live within our means.
I'll say this: the school board, so important. The sheriff must have EMS, EMA. We can't live without them, right? But they all drive on my county road, which is the biggest asset for Sumner County. I manage the biggest asset, 800 miles for Sumner County. And here's the thing: the best thing that y'all can do is give me the money to repair as much as I can this year, because next year it's going to cost more. I was talking to one of you a month ago, and I sit there and go, if I paid exactly the same amount of tons this year as I did last year, it's $670,000 more money. I said, that's what we're dealing with, and that's the economics of construction.
Right.
But I've got to have these people. I've got to have these specialized people to do it, and the savings of their expertise and how they do it and the quality jobs they're doing is phenomenal. They are saving you money. There's no waste. They're doing a fine job. They're doing an awesome job, and I've got 40 years to back that up to tell you that they're doing that. Well, I've pressed enough, so I'll be quiet.
No, you're making a good point, look, and I get it, because I've got people in my district. Lady just showed me the other day, she was so excited, she saved $1 a gallon on gas.
That's a lot of money.
But she goes, it wasn't that exciting. I said, why not? She goes, well, because I spent $1,000 in groceries in less than 3 weeks. She goes, I guess I go to Publix, nothing against Kroger. She says, it's 10 cents per whatever it is. So I get what they're saying. These guys are struggling financially.
How
too.
many people in her family?
My biggest fear, though, is, you know.
3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks, I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
it
mean,
makes
yeah,
more
the
than
biggest
that.
fear though is these guys, they can't afford a tax increase either, like, we can't give them a pay raise. And this was from an employee I heard when I was running, he goes, my pay raise was really a moot point, he goes, because my commissioner raised my property tax. And that's the problem, it's not that we're trying to be impossible here and be hard, I won't say the word, but you know what I'm saying. But I mean, these people are choking out there, this is reality. Yeah. People are having a hard time balancing the checkbooks, not only these guys, but the private sector. So I want you to know, we're trying our best with all the departments to say, look, what's the most we can do? Schultz is doing well, a lot of that
To
too,
Matt,
you know.
to Matt's point, rent and a car payment can't make it on $20.
No.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
That's the problem. We always, I know we're kind of get the wax philosophical, but everybody says, well, the person working at Chick-fil-A, well, that person's got to live too.
Exactly.
But I got to pay for that person? Yeah, well, yeah, but the thing is, that person, the Chick-fil-A person that pays too, I don't want to lay more taxes on that person.
Exactly.
So it's just, we're not arguing that you don't need it. We're not arguing that you don't.
We're just trying,
We're trying
we
to
don't have this much money.
I mean, I will say, and I'll send this out to you next week, I can show you the savings of what we're doing and the economics of what's happening. I've sent this out to some of you to where it shows, the last 5 or 6 years, the deficiency of what we were doing and not doing enough paving. We're paving 28 miles instead of what I'm saying, and showing what that dollar amount is. When we come over the last 5 or 6 years, there's a deficiency of almost 98 miles, and that's like $11 million price increase now to go back and do them extra miles. So when you look at that, and you use the science behind it, and you try to project out, well, in my second term, I'm going to try every way I can to do 200 miles in the first term. And then when we get out into the second term, at some point, we're going to reach a plateau to where we're going to be able to do some maintenance work because we're out ahead and we're not having to pay as much. So some of this is going to come back to us when it's it's going to cost a lot more then. So this money we're spending now is saving money for then. But that's the thing we got to look at. You were talking about 5 years. I wish I could go back 5 years from now and been having this conversation with you then, because it would have helped the situation out.
No,
we would have been where we need to be.
We realize you're digging out of a hole, and, and the sooner you dig it out, the better off we're gonna be.
That's right.
We understand that. We're just asking you to.
Can I ask about history though? I'm curious, and I've been wondering, before in the past, when they didn't lay down that many miles, is it because they didn't have the money for the materials, or is it because they weren't working as efficiently?
No, they didn't have as much.
Money for materials?
Money for materials.
So that's why the.
And the thing is, it's sad to me because the prices were so much cheaper back then.
So the previous county commission did not put the money into highway.
I understand, I just wanted to see if that was.
Highway's been neglected.
And then the governor wasn't throwing it down.
Exactly, and to show, I will say this, when I come into office, just to give you examples of how I can play things. We had,
So, hey guys, Mr. Ellis, do you have any further notes here?
I will say this one thing, is that, when I come into office, we were spending $58 a ton for mix, and that was market driven, because the east and southern, and Franklin, Kentucky, Rogers Group, and the others were afraid they're gonna come in and steal tons, and since then, we're paying 44% more material, and I'm paying $82 a ton now. And so
It went up like hundreds of, from like even 20 to 21, it went up, $2 more million a year just in 1 year. Before you got in office, it was way too bad.
we're somewhere around $130,000 a mile, something like that. But I'm telling you, I'm a good steward of y'all's money. I don't think y'all know for what you do. You have helped my department since I've been in office, a lot of things. I'm just trying to keep the people and do the best job I can to make the roads the best they can be. Because, in the big scheme of things, 800 miles, that's a liability to us. And when people are swerving and missing potholes and hitting each other, that's a problem.
Administrator?
We,
Can you send me the formula, because you know who that, you know?
Yeah.
He wants me to know how much it costs per mile, and I don't have any idea. Can you send me that?
Yeah.
David?
Is that $130,000 a mile, that include all of your staff and everything?
Everything, rapid.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
all right, I think that's pretty bad.
Do you wanna do the mayor's today?
You know, I think we're all right. We can.
Hey, Matt, we do.
Wait on the list, but your license gonna end at
Did we get an
2:30.
org chart, please?
Squirt, how long you gonna be here tomorrow? Well, I mean, my thing is, if you run 2:30 tomorrow, you know, get there at 6 or 7 o'clock,
Let's postpone here and now tomorrow. We can catch up quick.
well, my only point being is your license tomorrow's gonna end at 2:30. That's when you're gonna start your adjustments, you're probably gonna take 4+ hours for that, part of the day.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing, you know what, I won't make the executive decision.
I wanna be here longer today than tomorrow.
Yeah.
You wanna work on it today?
I wanna be here longer today than tomorrow.
I don't have my habits.
We don't have to work on his, we can.
So if we wanna start to do cuts and whatnot here, then let's take a 5-minute break. Let's take a 5-minute break.
So, and I would.
I guess the only thing I would suggest, sorry, go ahead, Terry, I'm gonna make one more note, we are definitely.
So as far as like, yeah, I'm burned, so much information.
Tomorrow's gonna be longer.
And that's what I wanted
It's gonna be
to-
raining too, I got a yard to cut.
Why are we listing this so tight? Why
Thank
can't
you,
we come back?
I'm just letting, I've got a yard to
We
cut.
almost certainly will.
It's already,
I mean,
We'll end up with stuff that's not over.
and I think even more than that, I mean, there are some pieces of this that just need
We'll
a whole lot more time.
We'll end up, I'm gonna put this one to vote, if we wanna stay for 1 extra hour, or if we wanna go. So I'm gonna let you vote. You don't get. So I'm gonna put it to vote, we'll stay for 1 extra vote, or we'll stay for 1 extra hour, do what we can in 1 hour, or we can go. So all those in favor of staying for an extra hour? Aye. I don't wanna, but I'll do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those that's in favor of heading out now? 1, 2. All right, we're gonna stay 1 hour.
So, but I just want you to know, I don't think we're gonna get through this anytime
That's all right,
soon.
we'll do 1 hour.
Get through what? This whole process, I mean, 1 hour tonight.